Two power units of the Novocherkassk hydro power station in the Rostov region of Russia have been taken out of operation after night strikes by Ukrainian UAVs and subsequent fires at the transformer substation. According to preliminary data, several drones were involved in the attack on the power station. Local residents on social media write that they heard the passage of at least 10 UAVs. The Russian Ministry of Attack reported that everything was shut down, as usual. All 11 UAVs of the aircraft type that flew over the Russian territory at night. The Novocherkassk hydropower station, with a capacity of at least 2258 megawatts, is the main source of the electricity generation in the Rostov region of Russia, providing electricity to the most industrially developed southwestern part of the region. Hey, my name is Alex, and this is a quick update on the Russian-Ukrainian war from the perspective of someone living within it. Also, around 10:30 on March 25th, Russians struck Kyiv with two ballistic missiles from Crimea. Targets have been destroyed. The type is being determined, reported by General Mykola Oleshchuk, commander of the Air Forces of Ukraine. The Russian social networks report that this strike on Kyiv was likely carried out by the hypersonic Zircons rocket. The first explosions in the capital occurred shortly after the siren was sounded. It is known that the combat payload of rocket 300 to 400 kg. It's based on ships or submarines. Range up to 1000 kilometers. Speed 10.7 thousand kilometers per hour. And just to remind you, only 2 years ago the Russian Ministry of Attack Shoigu announced the serial production of the Zircon and Kinzhal missile in Russia. Later, the Ukrainian armed forces reported that Zircon produced in 2024 were launched at Kyiv. Remnants of downed Russian hypersonic cruise missile 3M-22 Zircon were found over the Kyiv. As we can see once again, the unrivaled missiles, which according to Russian propaganda cannot be intercepted, were actually shut down, obviously by the Patriot system. In Kyiv, part of the missile supply got stuck in a private house. And this is the footage how Ukrainian children in Kyiv are running to shelters amid the sound of explosions. Let me also remind you that the day before the Russians launched a missile strike on the Zaporizhzhia hydroelectric power station, hitting the dam. It will take years to restore the station, announced the head of Ukr Hydroelectroenergo. 6 Russian missiles hit the Dnipro hydroelectric power station too, resulting in significant damage. Currently, efforts are underway to clear the rubble. The dam remains intact despite the attack. Damaged are the crane beams and the cantilever part of the bridge, which relevant services are trying to restore as quickly as possible. Additionally, the Kharkiv region also suffered heavy bombardments. The situation with electricity in Kharkiv remains difficult. Over 200,000 subscribers, apartments and houses are still without stable electricity supply, with rather strict schedule in place, reported President Zelensky. Meanwhile, Ukraine is attempting retaliatory strike. Thus, on the night of March 25, 2024, the most powerful missile attack on the occupied Crimea targeting military object was carried out. It is reported that a disguised command center was hit, as well as 3 military landing ships. There have been no public confirmation of the destruction of the ships through photos or videos. Additionally, closer to dawn, Ukraine launched a missile strike on the oil depot near Gvardiivsky, Crimea. Satellite images on the oil depot near Gvardiivsky in Crimea before and after the strike. The footage shows damage to at least 3 fuel tanks. As for the situation on the front line, it is challenging and Ukraine lacks armaments. The Russians are leveraging this advantage and pressing on all fronts. Thus, for example, the situation on the Avdiivka direction, which is currently one of the toughest, is commented on by a person involved in the defense of this direction. The enemy has advanced towards Semenivka from 2 sides, from the south, from the area of Orlivka located on the western bank of the Durna River, and from the east occupying the area between Orlivka and Berdichi on the eastern bank of the same river. There is a significant pressure on Berdichi. We managed to withdraw relatively normally from Tonenki several days ago. However, the enemy will likely achieve some success farther west. At Pervomaisky, the occupiers attempt to capitalize on their success and launched a massed attack, which however did not succeed. There have been no new enemy advancement near Nevelsky. The occupiers are also pressing towards Ocheretino from both sides of Krasnogorivka and Stepove. They are attempting to break through our defense head-on, unsuccessfully. The overall situation on the direction boils down to intense tactical battles, where the enemy is still trying to improve their position, but it is felt that their units are quite exhausted. Although the potential still exists, the exertion of the occupier should not deceive us, as they still have reserves with which they constantly replenish their groupings. According to the spatial ground, the situation looks like this. The Russians have advanced into the western part of Orlivka, while the defense forces have withdrawn to the adjacent heights on the outskirts of the settlement. This is the western front from Avdiivka. And here is a footage of repelling one of the assaults in this area on western outskirts of the settlement Tonenki, from the fighters of the Alastor unit of the 25th Brigade. The futile attempt to break through with the force of 2 tanks across the open field ended unsuccessfully for the Russians due to the work of the defense forces. Such desperate attack by the Russians occur often, but alongside this they continue to press with infantry and equipment, using artillery, aviation and drones in addition. On the Svatove direction, another soldier reports, towards Terny Yampolivka, the enemy is using CAPs, aviation bombs, aiming to reclaim the area where our airborne recently gave them a good thrashing. Additionally, the Russians killed a civilian who was attempting to leave the occupied part of Orlivka on a bicycle. Another soldier of the Ukrainian armed forces shared thoughts on the availability of equipment for the advance in the Russian army. I wouldn't say they have run out of the BMP-3. Maybe in some units it's possible, but definitely not on a strategic scale. In terms of BMP-3 production, they are essentially compensating for losses, so they are working at a neutral level. What they have made they use for destruction towards us. Also, we have long noticed that during the first wave of assault, the MTLBs are used as a cannon fodder, those who they don't mind sacrificing. Regular troops who with their bodies draw fire onto themselves, exploding our fire position. And then more or less normal units moving forward. They advance in the second wave on BMPs or BMDs. Meanwhile, the analytical team at Oryx, which calculate losses of both sides in equipment solely based on photos and video confirmation, stated the following. Our total count of documented Russian equipment losses during their 2022 invasion of Ukraine has exceeded 15,000. Destroyed 10,600 units, damaged about 700, abandoned about 800, captured about 3,000, and in total 15,035 units. What an epic failure from a self-proclaimed military superpower. And a bit about the everyday life at the front line from a soldier of the Ukrainian armed forces. It's not even 10 in the morning yet, and I have already put one Russian to bed. Furthermore, significant emphasis is placed on FPV drones. The projectiles dropped by these drones are also being improved. For example, the powerful FPV drone from the 28th Brigade with a powerful high explosion charge demolishes buildings to smithereens. And this is how Ukrainian engineers manufacture casing for the fragmentation effects for PG-7M cumulative charge in home conditions. Also, Russians are attempting to install observation devices everywhere. Ukrainians, on the other hand, are evidently trying to poke out all this ice for the Russians. For instance, border guards from the Steel Border Brigade on the Kharkiv direction destroyed the long-range visual observation complex Murom P. More and more frequently, photos of downed Ukrainian kamikaze drones made from a crab and sticks have begun to appear. For instance, this one, capable of carrying up to 2 kg of explosives. Instead of fuel bunk, a regular 5-liter bottle is used. Interestingly, nuts are filled with explosive mixture for a greater collateral impact on live forces. Ukraine continues to construct fortified defensive structures. It took 2 years to come to the conclusion that fortifications are a crucial factor on the front line. Well, it is better later than never. How many lives would have been saved if fortification had been dug and qualified fortification had been constructed on time is known only to God. Additionally, in Kharkiv region, a mine-clearing mini-vehicle exploded. The GCS-200 vehicle's rotor was damaged. There were no casualties. To me, it is quite a strange situation when a vehicle supposed to clean mines detonates one itself. But war is war, and there is nothing in this world that cannot be destroyed, or at least damaged. Now let's quickly review the main event on the international stage related to the war in Ukraine. YouGov conducted a survey among Americans and found that the majority of Americans believe that another world war will occur in the next decade. 22% of Americans consider it very likely that another world war will erupt in the next 5 to 10 years. 39% consider it quite likely. If another world war breaks out, 77% of Americans believe that the US will be involved. Only 6% say that the US will not participate, while the remaining 18% are unsure. 72% believe that if another world war breaks out, Russia will be involved and will be on the opposite side from the US. 69% say the same about China. Countries that Americans are most likely to believe will be involved in a hypothetical global conflict and will be on the same side as the US are the United Kingdom 67%, Ukraine 58%, and Israel 58%. Meanwhile, ISIS has announced new terrorist attack in Russia and threatened Putin personally. In Iranian media, citing the Tajik propaganda network of ISIS Khorasan Al-Azim, this poster is being circulated. The tweets are linked to revenge for the torture of organization members. Meanwhile, the Russians themselves threaten retaliation not against the Tajik or Islamic group that claimed responsibility for the terrorist attack, but against Ukrainians. Madness is escalating. For the deceased and injured Russian at the Crocus City Hall shopping center, the inscription on the rocket for the BM-21 Grad. Other on the high explosive aviation bomb weighed 1,500 kg with the UMPK guidance system on the Russian Su-34, right on the nose cone for Crocus, you beasts, meaning he will drop this bomb onto the head of Ukrainians. Meanwhile, Baltic leaders are calling NATO members to return to military duty, reports the Financial Times. The president of Latvia and Estonia have urged other European countries to do more prepare for the possible armed confrontation with Russia, considering all options, from conscription and a special defense tax to a sharp increase in military spending. Additionally, there is increasing activity of cargo planes on the border between Poland and Ukraine. 5 cargo aircraft in one day. Some media outlets report that the Pentagon has agreed to transfer its reserve of $4 billion to support Ukraine, hence the aviation of the Rzeszów air corridor. And Russian media outlets even report that over the past couple of days, more than 300 tons of military cargo have been delivered to the Polish city of Rzeszów for Ukraine. And that wraps up today's video. If you found this information helpful or somehow insightful, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.